In this week's Bizline, AI startups having a hard time accessing capital. And measures suggested to boost AI startups' access to capital. Welcome to Bizline, a business talk show on VTV International, where we explore the latest trends and developments in Vietnam's economic scene. I'm your host, Hoàng Hằng. Vietnam ranks second in Southeast Asia after Singapore in the number of startups specializing in artificial intelligence or AI. However, as of mid-November, more than 760 AI and machine learning startups in Vietnam have raised only $47 million in total, according to global capital market research firm PitchBook Data. To use an analogy, it's like having too many deer competing for sparse grass in a field. Each startup received just $62,000 on average. So what is causing this disparity? What approaches can AI enterprises take to access capital? What measures are needed to support AI startup in this digital transformation era? These are the main topics of this week's Bizline. But first, let's delve into the current state of capital markets for AI startups in Vietnam.
This local AI startup is seeking venture capital funding to accelerate its beauty industry solutions. To secure investment, the founder must navigate a rigorous selection process, as venture firms now prioritize sectors with rapid profitability potential.
There is a limited pool of local angel investors who understands the complexities and potential of AI startups. Especially now, there's a movement that both investors and startup founders see that angel investors are going back to, let's say, traditional business models. So they're investing more and more on, let's say, mom and pop shops, like restaurants, coffee shops in Vietnam, because they see and they've these business models are already proven.
AI 스타트업에 대한 투자가 어려운 거는 베트남, 한국뿐만 아니고 모든 나라가 같이 공동으로 갖고 있는 문제점이라고 생각하고 그 분야는 그 AI라는 부분이 생각보다 많은 돈이 투자되고 있고 그 데이터를 해서 하는 부분에 규모의 경제가 있는 부분이고 그래서 사실 빅테크한테 유리한 부분이기 때문에 스타트업들이 굉장히 어려운 부분인 건 있는 부분이고.
Most AI startups are small-scale, often just a group of individuals collaborating on innovative ideas. This limits their financial capacity, as they lack tangible assets or clear ownership structures to secure investment.
AI is relatively a new thing. It's not like yesterday, but it's relatively new things, and not many VCs really know in details. They always need their own track record, their own expert base to evaluate which AI application goes here or there, which one is potential, which one is more like just like a copycat, for example, just to tell you with the very basics. The other thing is like the valuation. The startup people, they traditionally good in the technical field. When they come to talk to the VCs, a big part of the discussion is not about the technology. It's about the business. It's about the financials.
Securing initial funding is tough, and subsequent funding rounds are even more challenging, requiring proof of financial discipline and scalability.
Đối với cả các công ty khởi nghiệp, công ty startup thì đầu tiên họ huy động nguồn vốn là từ chính cá nhân họ huy động thôi. Thứ hai nữa là từ một số người thân thôi. Thế còn có một cái kênh mà các doanh nghiệp thường huy động vốn là vay từ ngân hàng. Thì đối với các công ty khởi nghiệp mà vay từ ngân hàng thì rất là khó. Tại sao lại khó? Tại vì là công ty khởi nghiệp thì họ gần như là cái tài sản của họ rất là ít. Thành ra đảm bảo tài sản cho khoản vay vốn ngân hàng thì đấy là cái rất là hiếm, rất là khó.
According to a November 2024 report on technology and innovation investments in Vietnam, local startups raised $529 million in 2023, a 17% drop from the previous year. This decline reflects broader global economic instability, with international venture capital funding falling by 35%, according to PitchBook Data.
Khó khăn trong cái việc là tiếp cận nguồn vốn mới và các nhà đầu tư cũng tương đối dè dặt khi mà đầu tư tiền cho các cái startup mà trong giai đoạn early stage như bây giờ mình đang thấy. Thì theo anh ấy, nó có một số các cái kênh khác mà nó có thể hỗ trợ phần nào. Tất nhiên nó có thể không phải là cái nguồn vốn chính có thể giúp cho doanh nghiệp bứt phá được. Tuy nhiên nó cũng là một cái nguồn bổ sung hỗ trợ thêm cho startup có thể vượt qua được cái giai đoạn khó khăn này.
AI startup face major challenges in accessing capital for their operations. To discuss this issue, we're joined online by Mr. Binh Trần, investor and co-founder and general partner of Accent Vietnam Ventures, or AVV. Before founding AVV, Mr. Binh Trần built extensive startup investment experience in Silicon Valley, USA, and also in Vietnam. Well, thank you so much for joining our program. Over 700 AI and machine learning startups currently operate in Vietnam. If you count private companies investing in AI, the potential investment in this market remains significant. So what do you think about the AI startups' potential in the market?
As an investor, I haven't been this excited about investing in a long time, and I've been investing since 2012. I think this technology represents a fundamental shift in the way we will live and work. It will impact every industry. It's similar to how electricity was invented in the early 20th century. And I think for me as an investor, that creates an opportunity, a white space or greenfield opportunity across so many sectors. And I can only imagine this is very exciting for founders as well. You know, on top of this, you have companies like VinAI who established Vietnam as a top 20 AI research nation. And this effort started in 2017. And so this foundation of AI talent addressing this very new impactful technology, I think Vietnam's quite well positioned to address and lead this type of change in Southeast Asia.
This year, AI startup has raised 47 million US dollars in total capital, which means its startup has raised a modest 62,000 US dollars. In your opinion, what are the main reasons for this?
It's a reflection of the global correction in venture capital. You think about it as a tide pulling back before the next wave comes. So I think this low total it's not about the lack of potential, but this global VC correction, as well as the possibility of limited data. You know, after the absolute highs of venture capital in 2021, fueled by low interest rates for over a decade, I think investors are a little bit more cautious, especially in emerging markets like Vietnam.
Many tech startups are using artificial intelligence, AI, to meet market demands and attract investors. This company has developed blockchain-based solutions for businesses, integrating AI for secure and seamless transaction record management. This Vietnamese innovation has gained significant traction among major enterprises across domestic markets, Europe, America, and Asia. According to the company's representative, early-stage startups need strong support in both funding and human resources to scale effectively.
Bởi vì nhà đầu tư bây giờ họ đã dè dặt hơn nhiều trong việc xuống tiền rồi. Nếu mà mình không có một cái cơ chế thông thoáng, rồi một cái sự bảo đảm hoặc là những cái sự minh bạch thể hiện được cái ưu việt của ý tưởng của cái startup của mình, thì sẽ chắc chắn không ai đến với mình đâu. Và đặc biệt là thời điểm bây giờ khi mà mọi thứ nó khó khăn như vậy thì niềm tin lại cực kỳ quan trọng. Cái thứ hai nữa là mỗi startup thì cũng phải có một cái cơ chế để hỗ trợ rủi ro cho nhà đầu tư. Thì ở đây mình có thể dựa vào một là những cái hỗ trợ từ mặt chính phủ hoặc là tổ chức tài chính triển khai để mình có thể tiếp cận được những cái quỹ bảo lãnh hoặc là chương trình hỗ trợ gì đấy, miễn sao để giảm thiểu rủi ro cho các nhà đầu tư.
In 2024, Vietnam welcomed 278 newly registered AI startups, reflecting robust growth in the sector since 2021. These startups are exploring AI applications across diverse sectors. including healthcare, smart cities, finance, education, and publishing. Vietnam now ranks second in ASEAN for generative AI, Gen AI, startups, accounting for 27% of the region's total, trailing only Singapore. However, regulatory challenges persist. Experts highlight that existing policies and regulations still run behind the rapid development of AI, particularly concerning intellectual property rights, data protection, and a comprehensive legal framework for AI initiatives.
International corporations can give much more than capital. And, even the AI companies, AI startups in Vietnam, they need much more than just capital. They need all these additional resources. And that's why one of my evergreen example, we have amazing technologies in Europe. Vietnam has a huge market. The partnership between European companies with the state-of-the-art technologies and the Vietnamese developers together, where they can have access to large markets and very competitive and demanding markets like the European Union market, can be a very good strategic alliance.
When it comes to international cooperation, it can be, of course, a pivotal role in breaking the funding bottlenecks right now in Vietnam. But then, however, for it to be effective, Vietnam as a country needs to create more investor-friendly ecosystem, because there's a talk right now, and there's there's a shared sentiment between this international, let's say, venture capitals or investment groups outside of Vietnam, that they don't really see Vietnam right now as a hot market to invest. So part of it, of course, is not seeing enough unicorns. That will change. Hopefully, as well, the government will create more policies, reduce bureaucracies in place to make it easier for these international funds to come in and help startups based in Vietnam to flourish.
As Vietnam intensifies its focus on AI applications, experts stress the need for a dynamic legal framework to support startups more effectively. Flexibility is essential to accommodate the unique requirements of the startup ecosystem, ensuring that AI ventures can thrive in a rapidly evolving market.
Investment in AI startups are often considered high risk, with up to 30% of projects failing in the first phase. With current venture capital slowing down, what other funding resources can startup count on?
Yeah, I think that number is quite high, 30%. We actually say out of 100 companies, only one company reaches the scale of a unicorn company, which is reaching $1 billion in valuation. So 30% is quite high. I think venture capital is like rocket fuel. So unless you're building a rocket, you probably don't need it. Sometimes you can get to that destination just as well using a car. So funding doesn't always have to come from venture capital. Some of the other sources could be angel investors, strategic investors. These are typically companies that have a strategic interest in what you're doing. They're becoming much more increasingly active in Vietnam. And these type of investors aren't just about capital, but they're strategic partnerships that could be really invaluable, especially if you're building an AI type of solution. So I do think venture capital is reserved for the really massively ambitious founders, but majority are going to be revenue first companies that are focusing on generating cash very, very early instead of a deep investment and chasing large rounds to be able to find that customer and eventually prove out their business model.
Investors have advised startups to adopt long-term strategies and avoid spending at all costs. Would conserving resources be a viable strategy for startups during this winter of venture capital?
Yeah, I think it's sound advice. If we're in VC winter, you need to survive. You need to conserve energy, right? But you also need to know what comes after winter. It's spring. And so I think founders should really focus not just on cutting the fat and eliminating things like unnecessary experiments, but just focusing on the customer value, during this time and then build operational excellence, right? I think companies that go through these tough times, they survive, they emerge much stronger because they've optimized their internal processes, they've become leaner, they've learned to do much more with the less. So I think that said, when we get out, when the market starts picking up, these are the type of companies that investors are going to return to.
This is an innovative online education platform that integrates artificial intelligence and virtual reality within the metaverse. It aims to reshape the way education is delivered. This virtual classroom enables teachers and students to interact seamlessly without being physically present. Despite launching only recently, Elite Meta has successfully raised $100,000 through Shark Tank Vietnam.
Chúng tôi mong muốn tiếp cận được rất nhiều trường học, cũng như đưa ra được các cái giải pháp giáo dục tốt nhất trực tiếp đến cho người dân.
With 200% growth in AI-related investments, Vietnam now leads Southeast Asia in the number of AI startups and ranks third in venture capital value. This growth is fueled by the country's young population, high internet penetration, widespread smartphone usage, and robust government initiatives to promote AI development.
IT에 관심이 많은 인력들을 다른 나라에 비해서 잘 제공할 수 있는 부분이 있고, 그다음에 두 번째는 베트남은 역시 성장 가능성이 뛰어난 국가라서 그런 부분에 대해서 스타트업들의 역할이 있을 거라고 생각하고, 마지막으로는 베트남 제가 정보통신부 장관을 뵀었는데 그 정부의 강력한 의지나 그런 비전 이런 부분이 있었고, 제가 장관님하고 말씀드릴 때도 정부의 강력한 의지나 이런 투자가 있으면 스타트업들이나 그런 기업들 뿐만 아니라 연구자들 이런 사람들이 다 같이 움직이는 그런 부분에서 베트남이 굉장히 가능성이 있다고 생각을 합니다.
To secure capital, startup projects must showcase breakthrough ideas capable of attracting a significant user base. Classifying startups into categories such as unicorns, promising ventures, and small to medium enterprises can further streamline investment efforts.
Thực sự là phải có những cái cơ quan, các cái đơn vị thực hiện cái vai trò hỗ trợ, kết nối các cái thành tố quan trọng của hệ sinh thái đổi mới sáng tạo, và đặc biệt là doanh nghiệp trong cái việc chuyển đổi số và tập trung vào một số các lĩnh vực trọng tâm của cách mạng công nghiệp 4.0.
Experts predict that future capital attraction will center on digital transformation projects in healthcare, education, finance, and retail. These ventures will increasingly target international markets, reflecting Vietnam's ambition to become a global hub for technological innovation.
With high interest rates and fierce competition, investors tend to focus on startups with solid business foundation, profitable products, and strong customer retention. Now, how should startups approach fundraising to both leverage existing support policies and appeal to discerning investors?
Fundraising at this time is very challenging. And those that enter it, they have to prepare it like you're in a marathon. You need the endurance and you need to pace yourself so that you actually can finish, right? Investors today are looking for fundamentally different things than they did 4 or 5 years ago. I think investors are looking for real traction, right? Real evidence and validation that customers want your product. So until you get there, it's not going to be sufficient to raise that round. That's unless you actually have been successful in the past, and maybe storytelling is all you need. But most companies, they need that traction. That said, storytelling is extremely critical. You know, investors need not just to understand what you're trying to do, but they need to empathize and actually feel the same emotions you do. All right? And so I think fundraising is extremely hard in this climate, but really focusing on getting that very early validation. It doesn't need to be very large proof, but high quality traction. And then telling a great story.
While many foreign investors are willing to invest in AI, they still face certain difficulties. How do these challenges impact investment decisions in AI startups, and what solutions should be implemented?
I think foreign investors, they have an appetite. They have an appetite for Vietnam, and they have an appetite for risk, but they need guidance, right? I think AI Vietnamese startups need to focus on building this bridge between what they're doing here with international investors. And I think one path to doing that is partner with local VCs who have these networks. Once you scale, you do need to find international investors because there aren't any growth stage VCs in Vietnam. I think having these strong networks and early supporters who can bridge that is critical for, I would say, the largest of opportunities. They also need to focus a lot on governance and transparency. I think having these things really clear and in agreements and having that relationship start off with transparency builds a lot of trust with investors. And then investors, they want to know they're dealing with companies that can meet global standards.
A cutting-edge AI device offers pre-installed features, including people counting, early fire and explosion detection, and vehicle tracking. This technology allows users to easily customize AI applications to meet their specific needs.
Nó đơn giản hóa quá trình thiết kế mô hình. Người dùng chỉ có vài cái click chuột có thể là đưa ra những cái giải pháp về AI một cách toàn diện. Những nhà phát triển khi mà họ không muốn là đầu tư quá nhiều công sức vào để mà phát triển một hệ thống từ đầu đến cuối thì họ có thể sử dụng một cái hệ thống này, và khi mà họ chuyển sang những cái ứng dụng khác thì cái thời gian mà đưa ra cái ứng dụng đến thị trường nó rất là ngắn.
As AI integration expands across sectors, it brings challenges such as information security risks and online fraud. To ensure sustainable development, experts emphasize the need for ethical guidelines and regulatory frameworks.
Số 1 vẫn là con người. AI được phát triển cũng phải phục vụ một mục đích duy nhất, đó là sự hạnh phúc hay đó là sự thịnh vượng của người dân chúng ta. Sau đó mới triển khai đến việc là phát triển công nghệ như thế nào, phát triển dữ liệu như thế nào để đảm bảo được sự công bằng và đảm bảo được cái tính chân thực của AI.
Nếu mà có thể thì cơ quan chính phủ có những cái chính sách và những cái hỗ trợ để mà giúp cho cái việc đầu tư một cách hệ thống và một cách có xã hội hóa, thì cái con đường phát triển của công nghệ nó sẽ rất là bền vững, và cũng tạo điều kiện cho các viện trường đại học này kia chúng ta có một cái cơ cấu để mà cùng làm việc với nhau và phát triển lâu dài.
Vietnam has made remarkable strides in AI application readiness, rising to 39th place globally in the 2023 Oxford Insights report. This represents a dramatic improvement from its previous rankings: 55th in 2022, 62nd in 2021, and 76th in 2020. The Vietnamese government has set an ambitious goal to position the country among the top 4 in ASEAN and the top 50 globally in AI by 2030. To achieve this vision, the government is pursuing 3 key strategies: strengthening the legal framework for AI applications, developing a highly skilled AI workforce, and expanding Vietnam's AI innovation markets both domestically and internationally.
Trong cái phát triển hệ sinh thái khởi nghiệp, tôi đặt ra một việc cho hệ sinh thái. Tất cả các bạn trẻ hãy suy nghĩ, hãy sáng tạo, hãy đưa ra những giải pháp mới để làm sao chúng ta có thể quay trở lại phát triển kinh tế.
These efforts reflect Vietnam's commitment to becoming a global AI leader while ensuring its technological advances benefit both the economy and society.
Is building a robust ecosystem where investors readily support AI technology startups the key to a dynamic and innovative future for the economy?
Yeah, I think an ecosystem only thrives when all its parts work together. You know, an ecosystem needs money, it needs talent, it needs the right regulatory environment to thrive. That means investors, universities, corporations, and the government, they all need to collaborate on building this ecosystem aligned with that future. And so you won't have this tremendous amount of success stories. You'll have early ones like Elsa or VinAI, but you know what, the ecosystem players if they work together, we're going to see a lot more of these success stories coming out of Vietnam. So I think a strong ecosystem doesn't support startups, doesn't just support startups. I think it's a necessary foundation for kind of a long-term economic growth, positioning Vietnam as a leader in tech.
The proposed digital technology law recommends categorizing AI technology product manufacturing as an investment privilege industry with specialized tax incentives. Should Vietnam consider absolute tax exemption or reductions for these entities?
I think things like what Singapore's model, encouraging reinvestments through tax benefits. I think this flywheel will help startups grow while keeping value within the ecosystem. I think there's also incentives around talent. AI isn't just about the technology for the companies, it's about the people who understand how to build these things and how to reach customers with this technology. So there could be improvements around that when executed well, can be a strong force in creating the right environment for AI startups.
What is your assessment of the potential for capital markets to support AI startups?
Well, I am a seed investor, which means many of the companies that we're investing now, we're looking at a 10-year horizon for them to reach maturity, 7 to 10 years. And so we're really thinking about companies that will be global winners 7 to 10 years from now. So for us, this winter that's going through, we aware of it and the dynamics it plays. Our belief in Vietnam is the Vietnamese engineer, and that's starting to play out. We have companies that are globally leading in their sector, because of the tech talent here. And it goes beyond just the tech. You do see people in coffee shops working until the wee mornings and night, right? There is a hunger and hustle that you don't see in most places. So I think that advantage from a tech perspective, speed is key.
Once again, thanks for being here with us.
The gratitude goes to you as well. Thank you.
Markets with well-developed innovation ecosystems such as the US, South Korea, and European countries are eager to enter Vietnam. Venture capital investment in Vietnam are growing rapidly, driven by the government favorable policies and attracting major foreign investment funds. Venture capital in Vietnam is expected to reach $5 billion between 2023 and 2025. With substantial policy support and international cooperation, AI shows tremendous potential to boost socio-economic development, supporting Vietnam's vision of becoming a high-income developed nation by 2045. And that wraps up this edition of Bizline. Stay tuned for more content or download our app VTV Go from App Store or Google Play for more news and updates. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time.